day by day. Things move pretty quick in pro ball, you know. I think, not trying to get too ahead of myself and just kind of take every day, and, you know, when it happens, I'll know I'm ready.
Welcome to episode 356 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland, and then there were four. In case you've been living under a rock, it's the Toronto Blue Jays and Seattle Mariners in the ALCS, and the Milwaukee Brewers and Los Angeles Dodgers in the NLCS. Interesting to note, 3 of those 4 teams have minor league roots in this province. The Blue Jays with the Baby Jays and Medicine Hat from 1978 to 2002. The Calgary Cannons were the AAA affiliate of the Mariners from 1985 to 1994. And the Lethbridge Dodgers suited up in the Pioneer League from 1977 to 1984. Also interesting that 3 of those teams have Alberta or Saskatchewan connections on their coaching staffs in the dugout. For the Mariners, Edgar Martinez suited up for the Calgary Cannons, while Louis Boyd was a member of the 2016 Moose Jaw Miller Express. The Dodgers have former Medicine Hat Blue Jay Chris Woodward, and the Brewers have one of the Okotoks Dogs' core 4 members in Jim Henderson, as well as former Cannons Matt Erickson and Charlie Green. On a side note, Ian and I are kind of friends off this week. It's really weird, but I'm a Blue Jays fan, and he's a huge Mariners booster, so we'll be back on speaking terms soon, I hope. In other news, Baseball Canada has unveiled its roster for the junior national team's annual Dominican Fall Instructional League Tour. It includes a few familiar faces, including Albertans Callum Anderson, Josh Mills, Tay Thierman, Zach McDonald, Cohen Miller, and Rogan Rivard, as well as Academy players Will Zelensky, Reese Whiteford, Caden Armitage, and Noah McIntosh. The lone Saskatchewan rep is Aiden Kilshaw, who we wrote a profile piece on this week at SaskatchewanDugoutStories.com. The junior national team tour gets going October 19th. And goes through the 28th. A few U.S. college commitments to pass your way. The aforementioned Rogan Rivard, who is guest back on episode 351, is heading to Kansas State University. His Vauxhall teammate Matthew Getz is committed to Eastern Arizona College. St. Joe's Academy catcher and St. Albert native Braden Cram is joining Williston State College, and Dogs Academy product Pryor Woolette goes to Salt Lake Community College. The Western Canadian Baseball League wrapped up its annual awards and all-star announcements last Friday. If you missed it, head back to our last episode to hear from 3 of the big award winners, plus our own Ian Wilson with a breakdown of the votes and the season as a whole. The new pieces this past week, the All-Star teams, as well as the Mitch Ball Memorial Award winner for the league's top umpire. This year's recipient is Ron Shuchuk. The Medicine Hat Mavericks have announced the creation of the new Mavericks Varsity program, which will help develop local high school baseball talent. It'll be open to players in southern Alberta and Saskatchewan, running September 1st to April 30th, and will be led by the one and only Greg Morrison. The Canadian Baseball Network has started unveiling its annual All-Canadian College teams. The third team featured Alberta's Turner Zadunik and Max Hartman, as well as Saskatchewan's Kyle Freilich. We'll be keeping tabs on CBN in the days ahead for more of their award winners. We're aiming to have our annual ADS and SDS All-College teams out at the start of December. Coming up this weekend, Baseball Sask is holding its annual general meeting and awards. We'll keep an eye on Saturday's festivities and share the award winners, plus have a full story up in the days ahead. Baseball Alberta's year-end event happens later on next month. As always, if you have news or notes you'd like to pass our way, or events that you'd like spotlighted during the winter, drop me a line at joe@albertadugoutstories.com, and I'll be sure to get the word out. On to this week's guest, and it's the first of what we're hoping to be a series of pro players from our neck of the woods who are back home for the off-season. Garrett Hawkins may have had one of the more unforgettable 2025 seasons of anyone out there. Fresh off Tommy John surgery, which sidelined him for most of the last 2 seasons, we weren't exactly sure how he'd bounce back. The Biggar Saskatchewan native and Vauxhall Academy grad was out of this world good, starting the year with San Diego's high A team in Fort Wayne, going 8-1 with 8 saves and a 1.43 ERA and 32 relief appearances for the Tin Caps. That earned him a promotion to Double-A with San Antonio, where he continued to shred opposition bats, going 1-0 with 2 saves and a 1.69 ERA and 13 appearances for the Missions. All told, the former Lethbridge Bull and Swift Current 57 had 80 strikeouts in 60 innings of work. Hawkins' fantastic return earned him the Padres Minor League Pitcher of the Year, something he's obviously proud of, but wants even more heading into 2026, now that he's defined his new role as a high-leverage reliever and a source of inspiration for Western Canadian ballplayers. Could a big league debut be in the cards for next summer? Here's our conversation with Garrett Hawkins. Garrett, thanks so much for joining us back here on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
The numbers kind of speak for themselves over the course of this past season, but how are you feeling now that you've been able to take that step back and maybe breathe a little bit?
Yeah, it's nice. You know, we always kind of look forward to the off season having some downtime, but yeah, really proud of kind of how the year went, especially with, you know, not knowing how it was going to go coming off surgery and stuff like that. But yeah, was happy how it went.
What was working for you? I mean, we can talk about the numbers, but I mean, you look at the strikeout numbers and all that, like everything seemed to be going well. What was that made you feel so confident going out there game after game?
Honestly, I tried to just not think as much. Kind of my first year, I was kind of always thinking about my next start or like the adjustments I was going to make. And maybe that comes with just being in the bullpen. Don't really have those 4 or 5 days to, you know, go back and think what you would have done differently or something like that. It's always kind of on to the next one and get ready for the next outing. So I think just, yeah, trust my stuff and try not to think too much.
It's quite the comeback after missing all of 2024, which we'll get to in a second. But how did you manage to come back so strong, given sometimes there's that bit of a relearning curve that kind of happens after that much time off?
Yeah, I think just going through rehab kind of day by day, not worrying too much about maybe like results of like live ABs or just practice in those rehab outings, just kind of knowing it's a long process and just taking it for what it is, just trying to, you know, get healthy and trust, you know, like all that work is going to pay off when you eventually get back out to an affiliate.
What was that first outing like for you when you stepped back out on the rubber for the first time and was finally able to go, hey, I'm back? Did you get that moment to soak it all in to a certain extent, or was it just all adrenaline and you just didn't really think about it a whole lot?
Yeah, I guess it was first game back and then first game out of the pen also. So that was probably what I was more focused on. Like, okay, I got the call. I'm going to be in this next inning. Now, what do? I don't have a half an hour or an hour before the game to, you know, think about get all my long toss in and stuff like that. So that was probably the biggest learning curve, just the routine. And then, yeah, just went out there, tried to do my thing and kind of, feed off that adrenaline of being out there for the first time.
Did it feel like you were back to your old self immediately, or did it take some time for you to feel adjusted and feel like yourself again?
Yeah, I'd say it take some time, especially kind of like right out of spring training, made like a little minor adjustment and I would throw a few in catch play that felt kind of back to myself. Even in rehab, like my arm obviously felt a lot better, but mechanically I wasn't back to where I knew I could be. So I made like a little adjustment out of spring training and something just clicked. And I think, you know, first month out of the complex and just getting back into an affiliate and slowly kind of getting that adjustment more consistent took some time. And then, from there kind of just kept feeling more comfortable as I went and just let it go.
You mentioned the move to the pen, and I'm curious, as a guy who walked into Tommy John as a starter and then coming out of Tommy John, was it a conscious effort to go into the bullpen, or was it something where, hey, I'd like to build back up, but I got to come out of the pen? Walk us through sort of that transition and how you welcome the opportunity to become kind of that high leverage guy for Fort Wayne.
Yeah, I think the fast track to big leagues, I think for me was going to be out of the pen. It's just, especially losing that year, I think it was maybe an inevitable move. Whether it was going to be good or bad, we didn't quite know. And even out of spring training, they weren't 100% sold on what I was going to do. yeah, didn't know if they wanted me to maybe be a long relief slash starter at like build into a starter as the year went on. And then, yeah, I kind of just slowly migrated into throwing later and later innings, and maybe went one inning a few more times than I would go two or three. And yeah, kind of just fit into that role. Definitely wasn't expecting to be there at the beginning of the year. But yeah, worked out that way.
Have you enjoyed that move?
I have, yeah. Starting, I would kind of like build myself up for that 1 day a week. Out of the bullpen, you don't have that time to really think that much, and you're just kind of just feeding off the moment and the adrenaline, which I think I perform better in. And yeah, I liked my year in the pen for sure.
You certainly performed really well. I mean, you set the record in Fort Wayne for scoreless innings in a row, and then at the end of the year, the Padres named you their minor league pitcher of the year. What did that mean to you, and what went through your mind when you first found out?
Definitely excited. I got my pitching coach from Fort Wayne gave me the call that I was going to be the pitcher of the year, and yeah, really awesome to receive that accomplishment, and just knowing that they're watching, I guess, and that my hard work kind of paid off.
Absolutely. We haven't caught up in quite some time there, Garrett. So let's go back a little bit. We last chatted with you after you got drafted, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride. But let's go back specifically to 2023. You made 4 starts at Fort Wayne, and then things seemed to be going well. When did you realize that things weren't really going that well from an arm health perspective?
My arm kind of was nagging maybe beginning of that year, spring training, but nothing that I didn't think I could keep throwing. And then I actually pulled my oblique. I was throwing like a midweek bullpen, getting ready for my next start, and I threw a pitch, and my oblique didn't like it. Threw another one, and yeah, didn't really feel that great. So then from there, I got shut down. I think that was like early May. Went to Arizona and rehabbed that, and then at that point we looked at my elbow also, and it was, yeah, doctor kind of described it just as shredded. Wasn't like one throw that I felt something go, just more of a chronic thing. So then we kind of decided that surgery was probably the best option to get it 100%. So yeah, spent a lot of time in Arizona in the start of 23 and I guess all of 24.
What went through your mind initially when you were told, hey, it's got to be TJ?
I always kind of thought, well, I think everyone kind of thinks that lots of people get it, but you don't really know it'll be you until it's time, you know? Mm-hmm. So it was kind of surreal, but not in a good way. It's still kind of like, holy cow, I got TJ, you know, like it doesn't ever really sets in. But yeah, from there, you know, it's pretty structured, like rehab process. Like how many throws you're throwing each day, when you start throwing, all that's pretty scripted by now. Like everyone kind of knows the protocol. So there's never a day where anything's really up in the air on what you're doing, which is nice. It's just a matter of doing the exercises and making sure you're doing all you can.
Mm-hmm. From a physical perspective, what's the hardest thing about the TJ rehab?
I don't know if it's much physical, but just like trusting your arm again, knowing you're not going to throw a ball and you're going to hurt something or make anything worse. That was probably the biggest thing. And like the range of motion after surgery is probably the biggest thing also. Like you come right out of your cast and you like right away start trying to move it back and forth just to get all that range of motion back, because you're stuck in that position for a bit. So yeah, that would probably be the biggest thing, just trying to get your arm moving again.
Is it hard to kind of reel back your expectations a little bit? Because I'm sure there comes a point where you're like, hey, I feel like I have full mobility. Hey, I feel like I want to throw 25 times, but I know I'm only allowed 10. Like, is it hard to kind of mute your expectations a little bit of yourself?
Yeah, I think so. But I think it's just like I had a lot of trust in like the PTs and doctors there, kind of watching me and going through the process with me. And they kind of deal with that all the time. Like guys come to them, oh, I can do this and this, but it's their job to kind of, I don't know, try and reel guys in and get them to know like the bigger picture and not just how they're feeling that day.
Mm-hmm. Were there moments where you're like, man, this isn't working? Like, was it a mental grind for you as much as it can be for some guys, or were you able to kind of keep it fairly even keel?
I would say it was fairly even. You kind of have a team environment in rehab. As bad as it was, there was lots of guys in rehab when I was there. So it was a really good group to be around and like hanging out outside the complex and stuff like that, which helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's kind of in the same boat in rehab. Everyone's just trying to get healthy, and there's not a whole lot of stress of like the season and worrying about games and stuff like that. So, yeah, the environment I think definitely helped me get through it.
Mm-hmm. Who do you lean on in those moments or in those tougher days kind of thing? Or are you looking towards maybe some outer inspiration to make sure that you can go, hey, you know what, this guy did it, so I can do it too, kind of thing?
Yeah, I think there's parts of that, especially just how common it is now. Knowing that lots of guys come out the other end better, as good if not better. I think there's lots of that, and then just family and stuff, kind of keeping you going. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
those would be the big ones.
You mentioned you can sometimes come out better. Do you feel like you came out of TJ and are feeling in a better place than maybe you were pre-surgery?
Mentally, I'd say for sure, and just like how I go about each day, definitely got better. Just like all the extra activation and routine stuff that I maybe didn't do before, but now kind of realize how beneficial they are. I'd say that's probably the biggest ones. Mechanically, I feel better, but I think that was maybe outside the TJ in rehab. But
Mm-hmm.
I think like the less thinking and more kind of just feel and knowing I'm going to get, like if I feel out of rhythm, knowing I'm going to get back to what I was doing and not trying to overthink it. I think that was maybe a big one too.
Mm-hmm. Looking ahead now, what's the off-season plan? Is it working on new pitches? Is it refining what you have already? Or is it maybe taking a bit of a break to give that arm some relaxation time?
Yeah, I'd take a bit of a break for sure, but not maybe a whole lot of time. I've been working on splitter, worked with it a bit in instruction league. I think refining that will be a big thing this off season. And then just getting consistent. My slider shape has kind of changed throughout the year, or had changed throughout the year, so it's still pretty fresh. So yeah, secondary pitches are a big focus.
For sure. Coming out of the season, I'm sure there are probably some postseason meetings and conversations had. What's sort of the expectation of the team, or what kinds of expectations do you have of yourself heading into 2026?
On myself, I think trying to debut this next year probably isn't out of the cards. Just with the year I had and, age getting up there, I think that's a possibility. And I think that's going to be kind of my goal coming out of this off season and spring training. That would probably be the biggest one, I guess. I guess it's the goal of everybody, but I think, next year will be a big year.
Have you allowed yourself to start thinking about that day where you do get that phone call, for example? Or is that something that is even on your to-do list at this point? You just want to take every moment as it kind of comes to you?
Yeah, I think day by day, things move pretty quick
Mm-hmm.
in pro ball, I think, not trying to get too ahead of myself and just kind of take every day, and, when it happens, I'll know I'm ready.
Mm-hmm. You've also been able to head back home, as mentioned, in Saskatoon for a little while here. You're training there. You also get to do some coaching with Going Yard. What's that meant to you to be able to give back to the game in your home province while you were injured? Now, as the returning pro who's coming off a great year.
Yeah, it's nice. Especially kind of just looking back at where I was at that age. And yeah, helping out, Jordan, who's coached me through my high school, and kind of giving back kind of what I've got to pick up, playing pro ball and stuff like that. And yeah, the facility and academy here is awesome that I get to go help out.
For sure. That leads us to our last couple of questions here on the show. First off, for those young kids starting off in their baseball journeys and they want to get to where you're at now, Garrett, what's that one piece of advice or those words of wisdom you'd like to impart upon them, given you've got the benefit of 2020 hindsight and living the dream now as a pro ball player?
Yeah, I would probably say just try and play catch as much as you can. I wouldn't say I maybe had like one big hurrah moment, but it was always just a bunch of little things. Like you throw a ball, something feel good, you try and recreate it. And I think that just comes with practicing and doing it. So yeah, that'd be the biggest thing. Just try and play catch as much as you can and kind of feel your body and know what's working.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, how much fun are you having out on the ballpark again? Because it's got to be something to kind of the gratitude and the gratefulness has really kind of stepped foot here, given that you've had a year away from the game.
Yeah, I think this year is probably the most fun I've had playing baseball. Not just, the season I had, but, all the teammates and coaches and just the environments and just being back playing again. I think that maybe helped too. Just, I don't think I ever maybe went to the park really stressed out or anything. Was just taking it day by day, and with 8th or 7th or 9th inning called and I was up, I was just gonna go have as much fun as I could.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Final question for you, Garrett. It's one we ask everybody here on the show. What does the game of baseball mean to you?
Means a lot. Yeah, got to meet a lot of people, playing this game, and now kind of get to make a bit of money too, which is always helpful. Mm-hmm. But I think, just all the people and the lessons that it's taught me would be the big ones.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure getting a chance to catch up with you after so much time, and great to see you bounce back the way you have in such a big way, Garrett. Congratulations on all the success you had this season and before, and continued success in 2026 and beyond. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks again to Garrett Hawkins for joining us this week, and thanks to all of you for downloading and listening. Just a reminder that we are still working on a special feature on the Alberta Sports Hall of Fame inductees, which we hope to bring to you very soon amongst a host of other great guests, so make sure to subscribe on your podcast app, as we have a few more episodes still to come to round out 2025. A tip of the cap, as always, to our platinum supporters, the Okotoks Dogs, Under the Light Sports and Entertainment, and the Western Canadian Baseball League, for all they do for us and for the game in Alberta. For more on our amazing teammates, head to albertadugoutstories.com/supporters. And if you like our content and want to support us in a smaller way, head to buymeacoffee.com/dugoutstories, as we've had a trio of recent donations to help us cover some costs. A shout out to Kevin Glue, Jeff Peach, and Brenda Litzy for their generosity. As always, thank you for all of your support online, on social, and on air of Alberta Dugout Stories.